Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to talk about math in Python. I know, it's not always an interesting subject, but it's pretty hard to write a useful program without any numbers. Go ahead and open up Python idle if it isn't already open. We'll use the interactive shell to play with some numbers. In the interactive shell, we can just enter an expression and immediately see the output. Go ahead and type in 5 plus 5 and then press enter. As expected, this returns 10. We can do more than just add. Try entering 90 minus 30 and press enter. Again, we get the result. Plus and minus are called operators. Let's take a look at the operators available in Python. Plus adds and minus subtracts. The asterisk, or star, performs multiplication. The forward slash divides. 2 forward slashes divide two numbers and returns only a whole number. The percent symbol gives the remainder from a division. 2 asterisks or stars raises an exponent. Let's experiment with these for a minute. Type in 5 star 8 and press enter. This will multiply 5 times 8 and return 40. Now let's type in 40 forward slash 5. This should return 8. Interesting that it returns 8.0. A decimal like this is called a float, or a floating point number. We call it a floating point number because the decimal can float to the left or the right as needed. Let's force Python to return a whole number instead. Enter 40 forward slash 5. Now it gives the whole number of 8. The forward slash is called integer division. 7 does not go into 40 evenly. If we enter 40 forward slash 7, it returns 5.714, and so on. Here we can use the integer division, and it only gives us the whole number without rounding up or down. 40 forward slash 7 returns 5. Interesting to know what this does, but you probably won't use it too often. Let's try the remainder operator. Dividing 5 by 2 leaves a remainder of 1. If you enter 5 forward slash 2, we get a result of 2.5. But if we want to know what the remainder of any division is, we would enter 5% 2, and it will return 1. 30 can't be divided evenly by 4. We can see here the remainder is 2. Finally, we have the exponent operator. We know that 4 times 2 is 8, but if we enter 4 star 2, we get a result of 16, because this is equal to 4 to the second power. Before we continue, you need to know that when you perform multiple operations, the normal order of operations in math applies. Just like in algebra or in Excel spreadsheet formulas, you can use parentheses to group operations as you need. Feel free to pause the video here and experiment with mathematical operations until you feel you have a good grasp of it. Now it's time to learn about variables. In our idle shell, enter the following: a equals 5 and press enter. b equals 6 and press enter. No results are printed to the screen, but what you've done is assign the values of 5 and 6 to variables. When you create a variable, think of it like creating an empty box to hold something. When you assign a value, like a number or some text to your variable, you're putting that value inside the box. Now type in a plus b and press enter. Now the screen shows the result of 11. So what happened? Do you remember when you learned algebra in school? A variable is a placeholder for some other value. Why do we use variables instead of just entering the number? Well, we may not know the number to use right now. It might be found later or entered by a user, or it might change. In Python, you can use single letter variables like x, y, a, b, and so on. But it's usually better to give your variable a name, one that describes what your variable is or holds. If I wanted to write a program that calculated the total cost of someone's purchase at a checkout, I might hold the number of each item being purchased in a variable called item quantity. There are some basic rules about naming your variables. You can't use one of Python's keywords. These are usually highlighted in a certain color by your IDE's syntax highlighting. It cannot contain spaces. The first letter must be an upper or lowercase letter or underscore. And variable names are case sensitive. That means my variable with capital M and capital V is not the same as my variable with all lowercase. Let's write a new program based on what you've learned so far. Open a new editor window and enter A equals 25, B equals 5, print, open parentheses, A plus B, close parentheses, B equals 10, print, open parentheses, A plus B, close parentheses. When you save and run the program, F5 if you forgot, the shell says 30, 35. This is an example of reassignment. As a program runs, you can change the value being stored in a variable, but it will always give you the last value assigned to it. In the program we wrote, we first assigned 5 to B, later we changed that and assigned 10 to B. To wrap up this lesson, I'm going to introduce you to the input function. You'll often want to make programs that get some sort of input from a user to allow a user to make a choice on what to do. Open a new editor window and type in name equals input, open parentheses, double quotations, enter your name, colon, space, close quotations, close parentheses. On the next line, enter print, open parentheses, name, close parentheses. In the first line, we create a variable called name, and we assign it to some input. In this case, we'll ask a user to enter their name. In the next line, we print the value in that variable. Save and run the program. This should display a prompt reading, enter your name, colon, space. Go ahead and type in your name at the prompt and press enter. Now we see the name you entered. In the next episode, you'll learn a little bit about different kinds of data types, and we'll play with formatting operations on text.